Hello, baseball fans. I am back to talk about another big trade that happened just last week. And of course, that is Kyle Tucker, one of the top outfielders in baseball, going to the Chicago Cubs for the. Actually, hold on one second. There we go. And yes, if anyone's familiar, did get this when I was 11 years old at the Windy City Classic. And I believe this was the Michael Jordan. No. Maybe it was the year after this was the Michael Jordan one. And almost looks like a conductor's hat. It's so tall and weird looking. Anyway, and it's so weird for me to be wearing a Cubs hat on this channel. I'm not going to make it a common thing, but this is a fascinating trade. And I do want to get the opinion of Cubs fans, Astros fans, but especially Cubs fans, because it's an exciting trade, but there's a lot more to it than just on the surface. So the Cubs do get a tremendous outfielder in Kyle Tucker, with the Cubs sending back Isaac Paredes, who is a tremendous third baseman who had a tough time on the north side. He's heading out to Houston along with Hayden Wisniewski, a pitcher who has played both as a starting pitcher and coming out of the bullpen, and Cam Smith, the Cubs' most recent first-round draft pick. So that was really the big. Well, I mean, he and Paredes are both really big pieces going back to Houston. So, we will see. You can't judge any trade in a vacuum because it sets off dominoes. Often, not always, often they set off dominoes. And I think this one, more than most, has a lot more going on with it. So we're going to take a look at MLB trade rumors, the write-up they did, and we're going to really dive into this one more so than we usually do because there's some really good points here. This paragraph, I think, really talks about the stakes here. For the Cubs, it's a lot to give up, and that's especially true in looking back to their acquisition of Paredes. They sent Christopher Morel, Hunter Big, and Ty Johnson to the Rays a few months ago, getting Paredes ahead of the summer deadline. In a sense, they've given up those three players plus Smith and Wisniewski in order to get just one season of Tucker. So, yeah, if Tucker walks at the end of the season, sure, they get a draft pick as a compensation, but that's really, really not much when you're considering everything else you've given up. So this is absolutely a win now move for the Cubs at a time where the offseason has been pretty disappointing for the Cubs. They signed Matthew Boyd earlier. He does not fit into a win now picture. Again, as I'm a White Sox fan, I saw Matthew Boyd a lot with Detroit. He's a fine pitcher. Sure. Why? Whatever. Middle of the rotation, back of the rotation type of guy. And you need those guys, I suppose. But it's not a big, strong move. Not like this Tucker move is. If the Cubs could have gotten somebody like Luis Severino, then now we're talking. But Matthew Boyd, I don't think really moves the needle on if a team is going to be playoff bound or not. Obviously, the Tucker move is outstanding, but it's almost counter what we've seen so far at this point in the offseason. It's interesting to note here that President of Baseball Operations, Jed Hoyer's in the final year of his contract, and the Cardinals, they're not going for it as hard. Reds and Pirates still struggling to come out of their rebuild. Now is the time for the Cubs to take a step forward. I absolutely 100% agree. And right now, the Cubs, they've added another player to a very busy outfield. As the site mentions, they also have Pete Crow Armstrong, Ian Happ, Seiya Suzuki, and Cody Bellinger, not to mention other prospects. Talking with a Cubs fan friend, he's not actually very impressed with Ian Happ. He'd be happy with Ian Happ being traded, but that's something I haven't heard from anybody else. I haven't heard anywhere else. We hear very frequently Cody Bellinger's name floated as a trade possibility, with Pete Crow Armstrong definitely taking up center field. You assume then that Ian Happ is in one corner while Tucker is in the other, which really pushes, say, a Suzuki out of playing time. Now, granted, there's always the designated hitter spot. If Cody Bellinger's still on the team, he's, I guess, going to be playing first base. Matt Bush is part of the picture too. So as things stand right now, and that's why this is an exciting trade to talk about, because more dominoes have to fall, more things have to happen for this to make sense. It obviously makes sense because the team gets better, but you don't have room to play all of these guys right now. And so it is going to be exciting to see what then happens. And this is why it's really a positive to be going for it and picking up big name guys, whether it's via free agency or the trade market, because now you're dealing from places of strength. Your team has gotten better and you still have assets that have value, and you're going to find a new destination for them. What comes back is what's the interesting part. Is it going to be somebody that helps your team now? Is it going to be backfilling, getting a bigger prospect for the near future? And of course, a name that's in the mix primarily for Houston, but certainly does make sense with the Cubs is Alex Bregman. The highest named position player still available on the market. He is going to command a lot of money. Both Houston and the Cubs have interest. Houston is trying to get their payroll down to be able to afford to bring him back. I don't know if they're going to be able to do it, to be quite honest with you, because he's going to cost a lot. And for Houston, this move right here with Tucker brings their payroll down a bit, but not nearly enough to be able to afford Bregman without going way back over that luxury tax. Really quickly, we're going to take a quick look at these prospects. And first, from the original trade that brought Isaac Paredes to the Cubs, they shipped out Christopher Morel, Hunter, I'm guessing that you say Big, Bigge, and Ty Johnson. Ty Johnson actually currently ranks as the number 30 prospect within all of the Tampa Bay system. Projected to come out, maybe make it to the majors in a couple of years. While Hunter has gotten playing time already at the big league level, he picked up a save last year. Mostly he's playing out of the bullpen. But among the players that just got traded, so we're talking about Hayden Wesneski. He's been pitching already at the big league level for a couple of years now. Not a lot of experience. He's still got a lot of team control ahead of him. It's pretty interesting. He's appeared in 68 games, of which 22 were starts, and 9 of them were him finishing the game, throwing the final inning. No saves yet, though. But also Cam Smith, again, he was just picked up this past year as the Cubs' first-round pick, 14th overall. He did get into minor league games, starting at single A, very quickly getting up to advanced A ball, and even playing a couple of games at double A level. So that is really a great first year, which also includes playing in college, of course. Cam Smith heading over to Houston immediately gives Houston a top prospect. Their number 1 ranked prospect is Cam Smith now that he has joined the Astros organization. So again, this is a lot to give up for a really, really, really talented player in Kyle Tucker. Kyle Tucker, who has 1 season of team control remaining. This is a win now move. Is there any way the Cubs can get him to agree to an extension? Probably not. Apparently, he's been vocal in the past about getting to free agency and trying to get himself paid the big bucks. So this could be a 1-year chips being pushed all in by the Cubs. So if you're a Cubs fan, how do you go from here? Because this is not the end of it. This team is not ready as it stands right now. On the plus side, you have assets that are going to be traded away. Cody Bellinger has been linked to the Yankees quite a bit. Apparently, there's a little bit of a showdown over how much money the Cubs will spend, will cover of Bellinger's contract, which is a pretty pricey contract. I'm always of the opinion, especially, come on, the Cubs have money. Spend as much money as it takes to get really good prospects in return for Bellinger. I am really curious to see how the rest of this Cubs offseason shakes out, because if this is their last move or their last move of note that affects the big league team, it's going to be really puzzling why ultimately so many players were given up, so many prospects were given up in order to get just 1 season of Kyle Tucker. Without question, though, the Cubs are absolutely a better team today than they were before this trade, and they're going to be a fun team to watch. He's an absolute star out there in the outfield, and it's a very fun outfield to watch already. Just even if it was just him and Pete Crow Armstrong, one of the fastest men alive, it's going to be a fun team to watch. So let me know what you think, and I'll see you next time.